Pittsburgh put on an absolute clinic, blasting 4 homers and riding a near-flawless complete game from Braxton Ashcraft to a 13-1 rout of Miami, headlining a night packed with home runs and streak-snapping storylines across baseball. The Detroit Tigers blanked the Cleveland Guardians 3-0 behind a dominant start from Kader Montero, who cruised through 6.1 innings without allowing an earned run or striking out a batter, relying on Detroit's defense to close out at-bats. Eduardo Valencia provided the game's only extra-base thunder with a solo home run that proved to be all the offense the Tigers would need. Kevin McGonigal chipped in on the bases with a stolen base, while Kenley Jansen slammed the door with a clean one-inning save to lock up the shutout. On the losing side, Chase DeLauder swiped a bag, but Cleveland's lineup managed just enough contact to stay in it, never really threatening. The bigger story for the Guardians was what didn't happen at the plate. Stephen Kwan went hitless, snapping his 10-game hit streak in a quiet day at the top of Cleveland's order. Meanwhile, in Detroit's lineup, Spencer Torkelson kept his own streak alive, extending his hit streak to 7 straight games with a knock in the win. A clean, efficient afternoon for Detroit's pitching staff turned into a series statement against a division rival. The Cincinnati Reds outlasted the Chicago White Sox in a slugfest, holding on for a 9-8 win in a game that saw the lead change hands repeatedly. Cincinnati's power carried the day, with Sal Stewart, Tyler Stephenson, and Eugenio Suarez all going deep to stake the Reds to enough cushion to survive a late White Sox rally. Tejay Antone picked up the win with a scoreless, 3-strikeout inning of relief, and Julian Garcia slammed the door with a 1-inning save to preserve the 1-run margin. Dane Myers added a stolen base for Cincinnati. Chicago didn't go quietly. Edgar Quero put together a stand-out day at the plate, going 3 for 5 with 2 RBI, a multi-hit performance that stands out as a streaming-worthy fantasy line even in a losing effort. The White Sox got contributions up and down the lineup from Luis Angel Acuna, Randal Grichuk, Chase Majorath, Andrew Benintendi, Brenton Doyle, and Sam Antonacci, but it wasn't enough to overcome Cincinnati's 3-homer barrage in a game that came down to the final outs. Pittsburgh Pirates put on an offensive clinic, demolishing the Miami Marlins 13-1 behind a complete game gem from Braxton Ashcraft in a power surge that buried Miami early. Ashcraft was nearly untouchable, going the full 9 innings while striking out 10 and allowing just a single earned run, good enough for the win. At the plate, Rafael Flores Jr. put on a show with 2 home runs, part of a fantasy-worthy multi-homer day. Jared Triolo also went deep and drove in 3 runs while going 3 for 4, and Jake Manga matched him hit for hit, going 3 for 4 with an RBI of his own, both multi-hit lines that jump off the fantasy sheet. Jacob Gonzalez also homered for Pittsburgh, and Brian Reynolds added a stolen base as the Pirates piled on from top to bottom. Miami's lone bright spot came from Owen Casey, who went deep for the Marlins' only run of the day, but it was nowhere near enough to answer Pittsburgh's onslaught. With 4 total home runs, a dominant complete-game pitching performance, and 3 separate multi-hit efforts, this was easily the most complete, statistically loaded win of the day across all of baseball. The Seattle Mariners edged the New York Yankees 1-0 in a tightly pitched road win, with Logan Gilbert setting the tone across 6 shutout innings, striking out 7 while allowing nothing across the plate. Weston Wilson provided the only run of the game with a solo home run, and he backed it up with a stolen base to spark Seattle's base-running. Andrés Munoz closed it out with a clean 1-inning save to seal the shutout victory. Jose Caballero stole a base for the Yankees, but New York simply couldn't find enough offense to break through against Seattle's pitching, managing only scattered hits from Ali Sanchez, Trent Grisham, and Luis Garcia Jr. It was a classic low-scoring pitchers' duel that came down to 1 swing, and Wilson's homer was the difference-maker in a game where every run mattered. The Boston Red Sox rolled into Toronto and blanked the Blue Jays 7-0, powered by a dominant 8-inning start from Peyton Toll, who allowed no earned runs while striking out 4 to pick up the win. Caleb Durbin was the offensive story of the game, going 3 for 5 with a home run and 5 RBI, a monster fantasy-relevant line that single-handedly did most of the damage for Boston. Wilson Contreras, Will-I Abreu, Andrew Monasterio, Seth and Rafaela, and Masataka Yoshida all chipped in hits as the Red Sox lineup stayed hot from top to bottom. Toronto's offense, meanwhile, went cold at the worst time. Andrés Giménez was held hitless, snapping his own 7-game hit streak in the shutout loss. Nathan Lukes and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. managed the only other hits for the Blue Jays as Boston cruised to a lopsided road win. The Washington Nationals blanked the Chicago Cubs 7-0 behind another dominant start from Cade Cavalli, who fired 8 shutout innings and struck out 10 to earn the win in one of the more impressive pitching performances of the day. Abanlek Ortiz provided the power with a solo home run, and Dylan Cruz added a stolen base as part of a balanced Nationals attack that saw Brady House, C.J. Abrams, Andres Chaparro, Jorbit Vivas, and Dalen Lyle all collect hits up and down the lineup. The Cubs' offense never got going against Cali's dominant stuff, managing just a single hit from Michael Busch across the entire game as Chicago's bats stayed silent from start to finish. It was a complete wire-to-wire shutout for Washington, with the pitching staff doing the heavy lifting while the lineup provided more than enough support behind a double-digit strikeout outing that kept the Cubs off balance all afternoon. The Philadelphia Phillies pounded out a 7-1 road win over the Minnesota Twins, powered by a dominant strikeout performance from Aaron Nola, who struck out 9 over 5 innings to pick up the win. Kyle Schwarber was the headline act at the plate, launching 2 home runs in a monster fantasy-relevant power display, while Brandon Marsh added a solo shot of his own and stole a base to boot. Luis Ariz kept his bat hot, going 3 for 5 to help fuel the Phillies' offense alongside hits from Justin Crawford, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, and Trea Turner. Minnesota's lone response came from Luke Keeschall, who went deep for the Twins' only run of the game, with Kalen Culpepper, Ryan Jeffers, Trevor Larnach, and Byron Buxton also picking up hits in the loss. With 3 total home runs and a dominant strikeout outing on the mound, Philadelphia controlled this one from wire to wire. The Los Angeles Angels shut out the Texas Rangers 7-0, getting a strong start from Walbert Urania, who worked 6 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts to pick up the win. Mike Trout led the offensive charge, going 3 for 5 with an RBI, while Denzer Guzman matched him with a 3 for 4 1 RBI day of his own. Adam Frazier and Vaughn Grissom each swiped a bag as the Angels ran the bases aggressively throughout, and the lineup got extra contributions from Jose Siri, Moises Ballesteros, Nolan Chanel, Wade Meckler, and Josh Lowe. Texas managed to scatter hits from Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, Austin Wynns, Nicky Lopez, and Jarred Kelenic, with Lopez also stealing a base, but the Rangers could never solve Los Angeles pitching and were shut out for the day. It was a complete team win for the Angels, combining strong pitching with a deep, contact-heavy lineup performance. The Milwaukee Brewers held off a late push from the Los Angeles Dodgers, escaping with a 5-4 win in a back-and-forth battle at Dodger Stadium. DL Hall picked up the win with 2 scoreless innings and 3 strikeouts out of the bullpen, and Trevor Megill closed it out with a 1-inning save to secure the victory. Max Muncy answered for the Dodgers with a solo home run, but it wasn't enough to overcome Milwaukee's balanced attack, which saw Joey Ortiz, Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, Jake Bauers, Andrew Vaughn, Garrett Mitchell, David Hamilton, and Gary Sanchez all reach base with hits. Tommy Edman stole a base for Los Angeles, while Jake Bauers matched him on the other side for Milwaukee. Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez also collected hits for the Dodgers as they mounted a late charge, but ultimately came up just short against Milwaukee's bullpen in a tight 1-run finish. Stephen Kwan's 10-game hit streak came to a quiet end in Cleveland's loss to Detroit, while over in Miami, Javier Sanoja's 0-8-game run was snapped in the Marlins' blowout loss to Pittsburgh. Toronto's Andres Gimenez also saw his 7-game hit streak end in the shutout loss to Boston. On the flip side, Detroit's Spencer Torkelson kept rolling, extending his hit streak to 7 straight games in a win over Cleveland. Rafael Flores Jr. was the fantasy headline of the day, launching 2 home runs in Pittsburgh's blowout win over Miami, while Kyle Schwarber matched him with a 2-homer day of his own in Philadelphia's win over Minnesota, both huge streaming spikes for anyone who started them. Edgar Quero delivered a strong floor-raising line with a 3 for 5, 2 RBI day for the White Sox, and Jared Trillo backed up his own home run with a 3 for 4, 3 RBI game for the Pirates. Caleb Durbin rounded things out with a 3 for 5, 5 RBI explosion for Boston. That's a wrap on today's action around the league. Hit subscribe so you never miss a recap of the game that mattered most.